become the guy, become a guy, not just a 17-minute game guy. We talked a lot about that in the process, and I think he's fallen in love with the process of what we do every day. We lift every day, and how it's changed his body and his conditioning's in top shelf. I mean, he's just become in great condition from a young man that when he got here was not. So I think he's the expectation has been different from me towards him in terms of leadership, in terms of responsibility, accountability. And he's been great with that. He's accepted that. We've had great lines of communication. We talk a lot. He's very analytical. I think he's playing the best basketball of his career right now.
It's with transfers made from both sides, from the coaching staff and the players that are actually transferring. I mean, it's a bet on themselves, maybe taking a chance. Both sides. Just how have you maybe seen that evolve? Just that whole idea.
The portal's hard. The portal's it's a challenge. When you think about going into a situation completely blind, where you know nobody or very few people, truly know them. You don't know your teammates for sure, and yet you have to coexist with them. You have to, from our standpoint, as coaches' standpoint, we have to make sure they fit, that they're the right guy, that they're good people, that all the things that are important to us. The talent, everybody can watch that on film, but that's what's scary about the portal. Is it's you're going in a situation with blinders on because you don't know your teammates, you don't know language, you don't know the school, you don't know anything, and to me that's a really scary thing. And so you are betting on yourself, but you're also having to believe in that program. And I think our staff has been incredible at finding those guys that are good people, that want to be coached, that want to come here for the right reasons. And I think that's at least in our last four, Dane, and TJ and Matt, and go back to Plummer. I think we've known enough about their character to make sure that they're the right guys and the right fit.
Given that unknown you talked about with just not knowing anybody, like what are the steps to step into that leadership role that you've seen? It doesn't sound easy when you don't really know people on the other end of it. How did you see them embrace that?
Well, it was easier for them because of what we've lost. It would have been much different had Kofi been back or Trent been back, or we were a very, very young basketball team, and Coleman averaged 5.5. So it was a very different situation. We lost 90% of our scoring, and we've got a group of eight or new guys. It's probably easier for them to, come in when you're losing fifth-year seniors and a first-team All-American than it is to come in and have all those guys back. So the situation helped.
Nearly 3 months ago, we sat in the same room and you talked about kind of like the lack of leadership after the Penn State game. Now that we're a week away from the postseason, where do you think the team stands in that regard?
Yeah, much better. I think it's very. I think it's very evident that we've seen Coleman grow. I think we've seen our freshmen grow. I think we've seen Matt and Terrence step into it. I was elated with the way we grew with Terrence out. And I think Matt stepped into an unbelievable spotlight and handled that situation. So I think we're much better off than we were then. That's for sure. Is there still room for improvement? Absolutely. Is now the time to lean on a couple guys who've been there? Absolutely. But you count on your veterans, and this time of year is no different.
And then I just have to ask, what are your thoughts on the return of the Matthew Meyer mullet?
If it gets him to play like he did in the NCAA tournament game where he had 25, and dominant, I'm all for it. And Matt's going to find a way to come up with something, whether it's the headband or the mullet or, but it's probably really good for his NIL as well.
Coach, have there been some points of emphasis coming off the Ohio State game? What are some things you want to clean up?
Not be tired, sleep. That would help. Finding another team in the country who's played 4 games in 8 days in late February. We pretty much kicked that one to the curb. As one of those that you can't dwell on. You got to move on. And we didn't have it. They did.
You had Kofi go through senior day last year as a junior. Coleman's obviously being talked about at the next level. Do you have conversations about whether guys want to do that with those opportunities, or is that pretty simple? How do you handle those things?
We had a really good idea that Kofi was gone. Yeah, we knew at that point that we knew last year what that was looking like. Kofi had gone through the process 2 other times. We knew he was going to go through the process, and once he was going to go through that, he was out. So we knew that pretty much from the summer. So different set of circumstances for every single player. We expect guys in our program to have to go through that process, but that doesn't mean that they're if they have eligibility left, that they don't have the ability to come back. So every situation is very independent of each other.
So, too, if I could, just for clarity, you'll still have conversations with TJ, even though he's going through this. Is there a door open that he could come back next year?
I'm going to close it. I think he stinks. I don't think he's a very good kid. No, he's. We want to provide every opportunity for him to do his due diligence, and part of that is he has been in school for 4 years. He's got the extra year. But he goes through that process, which he should. He needs to look at it, and if it's the right information, great. If it's not the right information, I would like to think he'll be a first-team All-American preseason next year.
But then if I could, what's been the week with Dane? I mean, just kind of, we only saw him for a minute in the second half. What's been the conversation and just kind of helping him work through that?
Yeah, he had a great practice yesterday. He's been he's been really good. He's watching film. I think it's more, okay, we know we got a couple bigs coming in here. The lineups are better. We need 25 to 30 minutes of really good Dane Deja, and so he was great yesterday, and hope he is today.
I mean, with the old transfer system, there was always a chance to add a grad transfer for a year. Now I think just the door's open for more players to do that. Just how have maybe having guys for 1 year maybe can change a program? I mean, or sometimes not. I mean, just what's that kind of scenario been like?
I think it's more about it's obviously the character piece is important, but it's really about filling a specific need. There's no time for development. You're not going to change truly who they are in an 8-month time frame. And it's just about filling a need and helping them find what they're looking for as well. And I think we've done that with Plum, and I think we've done that with Matthew in terms of finding a really common ground that meets our program's needs and helps them advance and maybe find what they're looking for, not just in the University of Illinois in our program, but also potentially beyond that. And we've been very fortunate that we've had 2 great young men who've come in as grads and that have found success here, and that's a tribute to our staff, and it's a tribute to them. I will mention one other thing. Jaden went down yesterday in practice. He was in the hospital overnight. He's been undergoing a series of tests and evaluations here at Carl. Obviously, it was a pretty awkward and tough situation yesterday. His family has made their way into town. It was tough for our players, for our coaches. He's progressing from the situation. He's doing better. We are hopeful that and expecting him to be dismissed. We hope later today. At this point, I'm not going to get into any particulars involving anything else for just his sake, his family's. He got great care here. He got from Paul Schmidt. Paul was with him all night. He got great Dr. Jeremy Hendricks, and then the Carl physicians were incredible. So do want to mention that, and as we move forward, we'll talk further about that. But enough said. Thank you.
Derek, you got a couple guys
Yes.
down.
Matt, he just texted me, he's on the board, fast board, so let's head down, and then we'll have TJ after.